The hell was that?
Welcome, one and all, to the weird, wild, wacky, wonderful world of Waku Waku 7. We're doing something a little different this week and checking out an import. Coming to you from Sunsoft, the makers of such great games as Batman for the NES and Batman for the NES. Waku Waku 7 originally debuted on the Neo Geo arcade hardware in 1996 and was ported over to the Sega Saturn in 1997. Waku Waku 7 is not the seventh in the series, but rather refers to the 7 balls you collect to be granted one wish. Gee, haven't seen that before. Also, the balls are of 7 different colors and make your character more powerful. Gee, haven't seen that before! But that kind of generic anime plot is perfectly okay here, because Waku Waku 7 is actually not just your standard 2D fighting game, but a parody of both fighting games and especially anime. The entire game is very comical and totally tongue-in-cheek, featuring a ton of anime tropes. The 7 could also be in reference to the fact that you only play as 7 different characters in the game, but they are all very unique and very fun to play as. Besides, when you're given a fighting game with a ton of characters, how many do you really play as? I imagine just a handful. In this case, it's quality over quantity. Let's look at the wide range of oddballs that make up Waku Waku 7. Rai is your typical anime kid traveling the world in search of adventure like you see in half the children's anime out there. I can already hear his voice in my head.
I'm going to collect all the Waku Waku balls and be the ultimate ball master of my balls.
Slash is a tall elf with a laser sword. Nothing much outside of that. He does have good variety of moves if you like sword slashes, that is. Politank Z looks like Mario became a cop and teamed up with Tail Concerto. The mech is slow, but can deal some heavy damage. A walking tank. Metal Gear. Tess is a robot maid whose wish is to heal her old master. She's a bit odd, and her syringe move can give her energy while draining yours. Look out for it. Maru is what happens when Big the Cat and Totoro crossbreed. He's got a little girl that rides on his back, making it a little awkward when you fight him. Wait, stop! There's a toddler on his back. Don't you see her? You're gonna kill her. Look out! Aw, go home, you big crybaby. Dandy J is a mix between Indiana Jones and Wolverine. You're gonna have to be tough with a name like Dandy J. He's a treasure hunter traveling the world with a young, freckled-faced girl with a rack like Dolly Parton and a short shirt. Why? Because Japan. He's got a killer whip that can shoot projectiles as well. Finally, Arena is a high-spirited, rabbit-eared high school girl who is accompanied by her friends Stadium, Coliseum, and Staples Center. I'm just making those names up, really. Her wish is to fall in love, but sadly for her, the wish-granting fairy tries to pair her up with Rai, and she ain't having that. She's one of the better all-around characters with moves similar to Ryu from Street Fighter. There's also 2 odd bosses in the game that are really over the top. Bonus-kun is a punching bag. I don't mean he's really easy to fight, I mean he's an actual punching bag. He's a parody of Ryu from Street Fighter and even has a similar theme. Your final boss is Fernandez, a giant bat ball kaiju thing. The fairy turns you into giant size 2 to find him. Don't be afraid to fight cheaply though, because he fights pretty cheap himself. The fighters themselves are all pretty lovable and memorable. Slash is a bit generic, but eh. This makes it worth the higher price for a fighter with a low number of characters. They are well animated, but their backgrounds, I'll go to that in a bit. The main fighting engine in the game is pretty damn good. It's similar to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, in which you only have 4 attack buttons, and most of the moves are pretty easy to remember quarter circle style moves. As you fight, you build up a super meter that gets stored in one of the Waku Waku balls. The more opponents you defeat, the more balls you get. The super meter allows for more ultra specials than I've seen in any previous 2D fighter, and really gives some variety. You could do a much bigger version of your average special moves, do a super move that will really do some serious damage, or if you don't mind being vulnerable for a few seconds, go for the Hara Hara move. It's high risk, but big payoff if it goes well. The options have some interesting choices. You can play on easy, normal, arcade, Waku Waku, Doki Doki, Hara Hara, Limited Cut, Raku Raku, and my favorite, what the fuck, I don't know. You could also have a widescreen background mode so the camera is fully zoomed out, but there's the odd choices of horizontal or vertical only backgrounds. You can either squish or flatten your fighters. Why the hell would anyone want that? As far as importing goes, the game is pretty import friendly with all the options being in English. The only thing you'll miss out on is the dialogue. Just check YouTube if you really want to know the story or how the endings happen. While this is a fun fighter, it does have some serious drawbacks which may make you want to hold off grabbing a copy from eBay. Outside of the ending cutscenes, there's no other bonuses in the game. There's a hidden calendar mode which will bring up new art each month, but your modes are limited to arcade and a variety of versus modes. Also, the game has tons of loading. Not really bad, mind you, pretty short, but the backgrounds switch from day to evening as you fight, so you have loading times between each round. Most important, though, is it is a bad port of a good game. While Waku Waku 7 uses a 1 meg RAM cartridge, it should have really gone for 2 megs or higher. The fighters themselves look decent and are well animated, but about half the sprites of the original Neo Geo arcade game. Plus, what's much worse though is the backgrounds. You probably already noticed this during the review, but okay, pause this video right now and go to full screen and look at those cats in the background. Look at them. I'll wait. I know, right? What the hell? They are animated, but they look like they've stepped off an Atari 2600. It would have been much better to either have a still image or animate less objects in the background so it didn't look so damn pixelated. The Saturn was a 2D powerhouse. How could they possibly screw up a Neo Geo port this badly? That said, there's no denying the charm and humor of Waku Waku 7. It's fairly different from all the other 2D fighters out there, and it has a great sense of humor. While there are better versions out there, they are pretty much all on import, just like this one. If you can overlook the heavily pixelated backgrounds, it may be worth adding to your collection. I paid $30 for the game and don't regret it one bit. Stay tuned next time for an import game I paid $1 for.